Today's episode is brought to you by Pure Strips. Use code ASN Media for up to 25% off your next order.
This is ASN Underground with Sam Mack. That's me. Here in Hollywood, we always say it's all about who you know, not what you know. But we've got a man here today who's going to prove that it's actually about who knows you. This man has a wild story. Where he came from and where he's going wouldn't be possible without the men and the women in the middle who know him back. We're going to hear about the adventures he's been on with people like Kiss, Smokey Robinson, Snoop Dogg, and even Tupac. Without further ado, please welcome to the stage, Backstage Dave. Oh, with the camera out already.
Everywhere I go, I gotta have it.
You know, here I am, bragging about all the people that you know, but I think we forgot your biggest title as producer of ASN Underground.
What?
How are you producing a TV show? What?
The baddest show in the land with the hostess with the mostest, Sam Mack. Shout out to Mike, too. We gotta give a shout out to the owner of ASN.
We have such a good team of amazing people who have come together.
Steve.
It's all in who you know.
Man.
We did not end up in the same room. We did not create this show because we were working on projects together or we were sitting in the same boardroom meetings. It was friendships that brought like-minded people together. And when we all came into the room, most of us not knowing each other and never having seen each other in real life, the energy was so vibrant. And when you're around people who are vibrating at the same level as you, great things happen.
Facts.
And that's how it's all in who you know. But like you said, it's more important who knows you back. So I am lucky to know Backstage Dave, and Dave has an incredible story about the people who have pushed your life in an amazing direction. And I'm gonna let you take it away.
Yeah, thanks. First, thanks for having me. This is a dope show.
Well, you're always here, but you're behind the camera. So we pulled you out today.
Show with a dope host.
With a dope
Congratulations to
producer.
you. With a dope producer. Congratulations to you and the whole ASN team. And the studios here, dope studios. But yeah, I'm known as Backstage Dave in the industry, hence the name Backstage Access Magazine, which is a magazine I created about close to 20 years ago, covering behind the scenes in the entertainment business.
Should we start at the beginning?
We could start wherever you want.
Let's go back to 1994.
94.
Where were you in 1994?
94, I was inmate number H36398. I will never forget that number in my life. As much as I try to forget it, I could never forget it. So my CDC number, if people don't know who's watching, is H36398. State penitentiary, 14 years, did 8 years on the 14 years, all of the 90s. I don't know what music came out in the 90s. I don't know what fashion was in the 90s. I don't know what kind of cars was driven in the 90s.
You didn't miss a lot in fashion. The 90s music is crucial to where we are right now.
The 90s music is crucial to where we are right now because one of the biggest hip hop stars in America is one of my good friends and mentor, which is Snoop Dogg. And that's one of the reasons why I've had so much success in the business that I created.
So fast forward, you're back out with us. You were living in your sister's house. You were sleeping on her floor.
Sleeping on her floor.
And you went from behind bars to sleeping on your sister's floor.
Right. So
to the producer of the coolest show on town.
Right. So another name that I own, remember I explained to you that I own Backstage Access Magazine and Backstage Access Pass. Another name that I own is called, this is exclusive, only for you, Bars to Stars. I went from bars to stars.
I love it.
That's my new book that I'm working on as we talk, right? So I own the name From Bars to Stars because that's gonna be the name of my autobiography of my life.
And that's a great title for your life. Let's talk about going from
Exclusive.
bars to stars.
From bars to stars. Of course, it was a long route coming from bars.
Yep.
And it was an even longer route coming to sitting on your couch where I am now to, communicating with stars like yourself. It was a long road, but again, like I said, if it wasn't for Snoop, I wouldn't be here because I had the chance to sit in a meeting at Snoop's house in 2001. In 2001, I came home in 2009. So in 2001, I had a chance to sit down with Snoop, and it was a life-changing experience for me. And it wasn't directed towards me, it was directed towards more of his entourage that was there, because I was there, affiliated through cousins who was producers at the time, and it resonated with me. One thing he said was, my foot is in the door. So now that my foot is in the door, everybody start bringing what you can bring to the table, no matter what it is. If you're a musician, if you're a cameraman, if you're a host, if you're a cook, if you're an artist, bring it to the table and let's eat off of it, because my name is, who it is, which was Snoop Dogg at the time. And this is when he was doing the East Siders, Doggy's Angels, what else was out? East Siders, Doggy's Angels, The Last Meal. It just came out with Master P. They just did the Above the Rim soundtrack with Tupac, so he was really taking off at the point. He wasn't at the apex that he is now, but he was on his way up.
Yeah.
And it was directed more towards people that was there that he was like, quote unquote, taking care of, and not really for the people that was there already producing and writing and things of that nature for him at the time. But it resonated with me because I wanted to get that kind of money. I didn't want the fame, but I wanted the money that they had.
So were you already a photographer at this point?
I was not a photographer at this point.
You just knew that if you wanted to be in that room, you had to bring something to the table.
I had to bring something to the table. I was an IT technician. Actually, I was a phone technician at that time because I was working for AT&T, and I was going around pulling cable and installing phone jacks at like Paramount Studios, Sony Studios, different people's houses in West LA in the hills. And years later, I picked up the camera and came back around to Snoop. So actually, from the first time I met Snoop, when my cousin Meech Wells and Pave Psalms, they were producing Snoop at the time, I wasn't a photographer. I didn't think about photography, none of that. I became just a full-on technician. So they kept doing music, and I was nowhere around no more. So a few times I was there with them, but I faded away and did my telecommunications IT thing, and they kept moving with their with their music. So maybe 6-7 years later, I came back around and I was Backstage Access and I had my camera. So the first time when I met him, I was nothing. I was just there like, dang, I'm here with Snoop Dogg. I'm here with Warren G. I'm here with Nate Dogg. I'm in here with, and then come back around. Now I have Backstage Access magazine. I'm a big photographer. I done covered everybody. I done been at the Grammys, at the Oscars, at the MTV Awards, at the, and now he's like, so he hired me to come on and do backstage for him. And I've been taking pictures for him for 16, 17 years now.
So incredible.
Traveling, tour, yeah.
And you
it's amazing.
Became Backstage Access because you always had
Because I always
backstage
had backstage access. I was always behind the scenes somewhere.
Yeah, the universe was guiding you in this direction and you went with it.
It's all God's plan. I always say, for one, your network is your net worth. I teach that. Your network is your net worth. And then on the other hand, just like you said, it's not who you know, it's who know you back. Even if they don't know your name, if they know your face when they see you because they're used to seeing your face in certain scenarios, that's always a good look because now they like, oh yeah, he's really about what he say he do. You know, loyalty is everything, especially when it comes to the crew that I'm a part of. Loyalty and respect is everything. It don't matter how much money you have, how many cars you have, or none of that. I could be a bum on the streets, but if I'm loyal and I respect you, and they know that my loyal and respect is genuine, the door's always open.
So we touched briefly about how it's all God's plan. How do you feel like God has had a place in the direction of your life here?
Well, starting back even as a youngster, I grew up a hustler. I grew up a hustler in the streets, and when I say a hustler in the streets, I mean a real hustler in the streets in the 80s. In the 80s, the hustle game was really, really influential in the inner cities, if you know what I mean. And I really took it a long ways. I mean, like, when I was in high school, I was helping my dad pay the mortgage on our house in Rancho Cucamonga.
Whoa.
So I was making money like that in the streets. Damn. And I'm talking 9th grade, 10th grade,
you're like 15-year-old
11th
kid.
grade, 12th grade.
Wow.
Yeah. So at any moment at that time in my life, I could have, instead of going to prison, I could have been dead. So right there, I understood.
Thank you.
I understood that God really has a plan.
Right.
You know, because everything that I went through in the streets and my outcome was to go to prison, I take prison any day over, you know, being pushing up daisies, you know.
Yeah.
And everybody give prison a bad rap, and it is, and I don't control anybody to go to prison, but prison made me the man who I am today.
What's the biggest lesson you learned in prison?
The biggest lesson I learned in prison was pay attention and listen. Because I was a teenager, well, really 21, still a kid to me.
Yeah.
I was a 21-year-old in a level 3 prison with murderers, you know, rapists, people that's been there for 30 years, 40 years, that are never coming home. Never going home, don't have a date. So they just count calendars. That's what they call it in prison, you count calendars. So it's not, you don't count days. Oh, today Monday, oh, today Tuesday, you count calendars, right? So they just gonna be counting calendars until they die, right? So I had a date. While I was there, it's easy, it's only a few different ways you can go when you're in prison. And this is somebody that's really, I was on Folsom, I was San Quentin, I was in real level 3 behind the wall prisons where guards walking around with machine guns, right? And I wasn't a gangbanger. Not to say anything about anybody that like the same sex type of people. I wasn't into that, you know, and I gravitated to the lifers. I gravitated to people that was there for a long time, and a lot of them took me under their wings everywhere I went. I've been to 5 prisons in my stint. In my 8-year stint, I went to 5 different institutions, right? And every one, I met people that was there for a long time, either had dates in the long future or didn't have dates, and they all had knowledge, and they all took me under their wing, gave me knowledge, showed me how to move while I was in prison, while I was behind the walls, and all that, and didn't get in trouble. So when I came home, I had that mentality, you know, and I learned from everybody that I sit down and talk to. Even though, you know, you might think it, like everybody here on set, everybody here just behind the scenes of this whole production, I learn from them every day. So I take something from somebody every day and put it in my character, and that's how I build myself. So every day I'm building myself to be the better version of me that you look at, that you can interview, you know? So one of the best things I've learned. And that's from lifers that most of them are probably dead or still walking that yard around the track.
One of the things I love about hanging out with Dave is, not only the events we get to go to and the places we get to be and those backstage passes, but you always have a gem of wisdom. Like, I always, when I talk about you, when you're not in the room. I always call you like my secret Yoda, because you always give me this wonderful piece of advice, this one sentence, and you just soak in the wisdom of so many people. I love being around you because I feel like I'm always learning. So it's really incredible to hear that you were in, hard places, dark places, and you always, people are counting their calendars and you're counting your blessings and you're soaking up that knowledge. And it's really, really inspiring to see your mindset is so positive, and you've really been molded through every action in your life to consistently move forward and be more and be bigger and achieve more. And it's just so inspiring. Like, I really love this. It's easy for people to be like, yo, this happened to me. Look, woe is me. This is bad. Like, this is why I can't do things. Meanwhile, here you are, and you're like, yeah, this happened, and I don't want this to happen. So these are the actions I'm taking. This is why it's better.
Right.
Every story you've told through the time that we've known each other has been nonstop inspiration, knowledge, wisdom. It is
Prayers move mountains.
I just want to be a sponge around you. The stories that you have, and now the career that you have, the stories you have are with people who are mainstream. We see them on TV. We see them in the music videos. We're on sets with them. Like, we've learned that the social media world is full of real people with real stories, and you've been able to break into some of those stories through your photography and through having these real conversations with people. Who are some of the surprising people that you've worked with, and what have they taught you?
Some of the surprising people I worked with. Well, as we talked to earlier, Snoop Dogg, of course. Shout out to Dogg, Death Row. As you see, I'm representing, and I got 3 of these.
Yay!
3 different sizes Death Row chains because of this camera, not because of I made records, not because of I produce or anything like that. It's because I'm loyal, and
you were focused on bringing something to the table.
I was focused on bringing something to the table. And the best thing I learned, again, like I said earlier, my network is my net worth, because I use my network that I built over these years of Backstage Access to the people that I work with now. So the network that I built through Backstage Access, I bring it to Snoop, I bring it to Wiz, I bring it to Big Percy, I bring it to Sugar Free, I bring it to all these people I work with, Diddy. The list goes on and on.
So one of the interesting names on your list was Ringo
Starr, the Beatles, the baddest drummer in the land.
Right? We have this long list of hip hop artists, rap artists, and then you're like, and Ringo Starr, by the way.
So, fun fact, Ringo Starr. Now let's start from here. My first interview I ever did for Backstage Access. Now, I owned Backstage Access magazine for 2 years before I ever did an interview. I just owned the name.
You knew it was going somewhere.
I knew.
You were ready.
Well, I was praying that it'd go somewhere.
If you stay ready.
If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Famous Sugar Free line. My first interview was with a band called Big Ball Stars.
Okay.
Now, Big Ball Stars is a super rock group made of individuals from all the major rock groups, right?
Okay.
So I had like Teddy Zigzag from Guns N' Roses, right? I had like Ted Karabi, or not Ted Karabi, but Rod Karabi from Guns N' Roses. I had Chris Slade from AC/DC. Now, he wrote the song Back in Black, right? So that was my first interview. So I was like, dang, I'm in rock and roll, right? I'm a rock and roller now, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm good. So fast forward to 3 years after that interview. I've done many interviews in between that. 3 years after that, I had the chance to do my first Grammy Awards.
Wow.
Right? So, and when I say I'm backstage, I'm not red carpet. I do red carpet, but I really don't do red carpet, because I learned that really it's 2 red carpets when you go to events. You have the backstage red carpet for media that just, it may be like maybe 10 outlets back there. But then you have the mainstream red carpet, which is the red carpet where it's thousands of media outlets out there and everybody jockeying for position. So I figured out how to get backstage to be that media guy, right? So I was backstage at my first Grammys ever, and Ringo Starr, the Beatles, actually got their Lifetime Achievement Award then.
Whoa.
And when they do the red carpets at the beginning of a show, that's the red carpet when everybody walking in and you get to show off what you have on. But when you do the red carpets backstage, that's when you get your awards. So every time people get awards at the award show, they got to go backstage and then do a photo shoot with those awards and then do interviews or whatever they do then, right? And back there, they only let certain amount of people backstage to do those interviews. And by me having the name Backstage Access, everybody think they heard of that name before because of the Backstage.
Yeah.
The Backstage Act, you know what I mean? They, oh, I heard of that. I know that magazine. So when I put that on my applications to be a media representative for these different award shows and stuff, they already know, oh, Backstage, we know Backstage.
Yes.
Because it's, you know,
perfect.
Right? So, which was brilliant for me, it's crazy. So fast forward, they got their Lifetime Achievement Award at the first Grammys I was at, and I got a chance to interview Ringo Starr, Paul McCartney, and Yoko Ono, which was John Lennon's wife. And then the other one that
definitely
passed
not John
away,
Legend's wife.
No, not John Legend, but John Lennon's wife.
Yeah.
And the other one, I'm sorry, I can't remember the other Beatles name that passed away. But I got to interview Ringo Starr and Paul McCartney. And Ringo Starr was the best interview I ever did. And the thing is, now when I see Ringo Starr at different places now, he still remember who I am for the interview that I did with him at the Grammys. And this was in 2005, I think. So, yeah. And one of the best pictures that I took also was that picture of Ringo Starr at the Grammys when he got his Lifetime Achievement Award. The Grammys end up using that in their Grammy magazine. So I have certain pictures that really caught on of different people that I've took, like E40. I took a picture of E40 about 5 years ago at a private event. I was the only photographer there because I knew the publicist and the management that was handling him at the time. They asked me to come in be the photographer at the event. And fast forward 3 years to like today from that event, they used a picture that I took of him to put on Grambling State Wall when he donated money to them. So he donated like $200,000 to a Grambling State music program, and because he graduated from Grambling State, and the picture that they put on the wall, the mural, is a picture that I took, which is wild. I'm like, wow. And then to fast forward from that, Snoop Dogg just got inducted into the Writers Hall of Fame. Next, he'll be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But last month, he got inducted to the Writers Hall of Fame, and a picture that I took of him when we did the book tour from Crook to Cook with Martha Stewart, right, at Barnes & Noble, they used that picture for the flyer to announce that he's inducted into the Writers Hall of Fame. So it's like, wow. But so stuff like that makes me like, I love this camera. I would never put this camera down because this camera opened doors for me. Even if it's just not me, this camera opened doors for me. Everywhere that I go, when I say I'm a photographer or I have my camera with me, I can talk my way into the different scenarios. Even just not even saying Backstage Access, just I'm a photographer.
Yes. One of the things I learned by going to events with you is the power you hold, because the moment people remember you from one event, you've clearly made a mark on their mind, a mark on their heart, and the access that we get is incredible. Like, I mean, I thought, it's the pretty girl who gets to go to events. I got it pretty good. No. I didn't know. I was on that front red carpet. I didn't know until I met Dave that there's a whole nother back room. It's absolutely incredible. And the way that people communicate with you, the way that people show you love, the moment they see you across the room, it is so beautiful to see the impact you've made on the lives of celebrities, as well as their management teams, and the way that we're all connected. It's so incredible. The way that you went from rock music to hip hop music to rap music, but you're also working with, athletes. And yesterday we had, an MMA guy walk through, and we're it's amazing how the whole world seems so big, and we put people on pedestals and we look up to people, but really we're all connected. And you've been able to slide in the backstage. I almost said slide in the back door. Slide in the backstage. And
we are ASN Underground.
we are underground. Sometimes the back door is open, people.
Sometimes the back door is open.
Sometimes put a little grease on the hinges, door slides right open. It's just, I lost my train of thought, but it's been really, really cool working with you. It's been really, really wild seeing just the respect that you have. I'm really excited for your book, the whole story from bars to stars. Like, you are the quiet guy at the front door that everybody meets when they come to our show, and they don't know that they're meeting such an influential industry professional. And it's always fun to see people's eyes light up afterwards when they're like, oh shoot, that was Backstage Dave. They're like, I knew him, and they're already gone, crazy. And they're like, I didn't get a photo.
Yeah.
And it's awesome that people can drive down the street, see your work. They can see a flyer, they see your work. They open a book, they see your work. Like, you are everywhere.
That's wild, right?
Man, and you are so humble.
Right? Fun fact, the Death Row cover with Snoop Dogg.
Yep.
Suge Knight.
Tell the people.
Snoop Dogg, Suge Knight.
Can I say it?
Tupac.
Oh, I was going to say Tupac.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. You know who it was. The Dog Pound. So we got Das and Corrupt. We got Snoop Dogg. We got
Tupac. Suge Knight.
And we got Suge Knight on the cover. Black background. I was one of the photographers on that. And they used the picture for the cover of the Vibe magazine.
How incredible.
The infamous Death Row picture.
Oh.
Right? Crazy.
What I love about our world, and one of the other projects I'm working on, is talking about like the human hook. The thing that combines us all together is that we've all had struggle and we've all had to overcome. And knowing what hard work feels like is something we can all relate to, whether you're a superstar, whether you're behind bars, whether you're from Hollywood or from Arkansas. Like, we all know what it's like to really be down and have to fight your way back up. And it's amazing when that energy, that drive to succeed, that determination is what leads you, because that energy attracts other people who are leading and going forward and pushing forward. And when you have people like that around you, great things happen.
That's right.
And I'm excited about your story. I'm excited about your book. I love that you're working with us on this. I'm so honored that you get to be a producer on this show, and I get to work with you every day.
Co-producer, because you helped. We
have a couple producers.
Tag team. It was a tag team.
We tag team. Back door is open. Come on down to ASN Underground. We have so much fun, and I really hope you guys continue to follow us, our stories, our journey. Please follow Backstage Dave at Backstage Access Magazine. We've got big things happening, and of course, follow ASN Magazine, one of our major sponsor, our title of our show. It's really, really great to be surrounded by people who are moving and shaking and doing great things. But what's more important is the stories and where we've come from and how we're all so similar yet so different.
Right.
Where are people going to find you on the internet?
You can find me at Backstage Access Everything.
Yes.
I own the name.
Got the Instagram. He's got the Twitter. He's got the TikToks. If you don't, we'll hook you up.
And you can go to bsamag.com, see all the latest pictures or whatever, articles and that nature. But I gotta say congratulations to you and the staff and your team and your transition to what you're doing now.
Thank you.
Which is major. And you gotta remember, it's not on you, it's in you. You know what I mean?
Yoda, people. Listen to Yoda.
It's not on you, it's in you. So you got to stay true to what you know and keep doing it 10 toes down, and don't let nobody discourage you. You got to keep it going. Let's go.
This is what I say.
If the next person don't believe in you, the person after that will.
Yeah, just get them out of the way.
Get them out the way.
Yes.
Man, come on.
Thank you to everyone who makes this happen. Thank you so much, Dave. Find the wonderful people in your life. Talk to them. Learn their stories. Get those majestic one-liners from them that'll encourage you to grow and become wilder and better and achieve more, want more, be successful, and share that with people around you. Be good to each other, and we will see you on our next episode of ASN Underground. You're watching ASN Underground.